Six elderly churchwomen corner your 15-year-old daughter at a farmer's market on her birthday, berating her for being unchristian while she's just trying to buy some candy. Your blood would boil, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. And what these church ladies didn't know was that I had ammunition that would destroy their precious reputation and expose the twisted family they were defending. By the time I was done, they were so ashamed they had to leave their church entirely. If you've ever wanted to see manipulative bullies get exactly what they deserve, you're going to love this story. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more satisfying revenge tales. And buckle up because this one involves family drama, religious hypocrisy, and the most beautiful karma I've ever witnessed. Let me paint you the picture of my life a year ago. I'm 46, a single mother of two teenage daughters, 17 and 15. My ex-husband had died in an accident, and while you might think that would bring families together, it actually tore ours apart in the most spectacular way possible. See, my ex-husband wasn't just any cheating husband. This man had been living a double life so elaborate it would make a soap opera writer jealous. Not only had he been having an affair, but his affair partner had given birth to TWO children, his children. And here's the kicker. Both the affair partner and my ex died, leaving these two little boys orphaned. Now, my daughters were the ones who discovered their father's cheating. Can you imagine? These girls, just teenagers, stumbled upon evidence that their father, their hero, had been betraying our family for years. The trauma was devastating. They are still in therapy, trying to process the fact that their father wasn't the man they thought he was. But my ex-husband's parents, his 78-year-old father and 80-year-old mother, they saw this tragedy as an opportunity. They wanted custody of MY daughters. They wanted to move in with US, and they expected us to welcome those affair children, constant reminders of their son's betrayal, with open arms. The audacity was breathtaking. Now, I need you to understand something about my ex-mother-in-law. This woman had perfected the art of manipulation wrapped in Christian righteousness. She could make herself the victim in any situation, twist any narrative to make others look like the villains. And she had her church, her army of devoted followers who hung on her every word. So there I was, fighting a custody battle, dealing with my own grief, helping my daughters through therapy, and trying to rebuild our lives when this woman decided to weaponize her church against us. The day everything exploded was supposed to be special. It was my youngest daughter's 15th birthday, and I wanted to do something fun for her. We have this amazing weekend farmers market in our town, fresh produce, local eggs, artisanal meats, and the kind of homemade treats that make your mouth water just thinking about them. I gave my daughter a budget and told her to go crazy. It's your birthday, honey. Get whatever makes you happy. She was so excited, practically skipping between the stalls, filling her basket with chocolates and sweets like any normal teenager would. An hour passed. Then I started getting that nagging mother's intuition. You know the one. Something felt off. Just as I was about to call her, my phone rang. It was her, and she was crying. Mom, she sobbed, some weird people have cornered me. I don't know what to do. My heart stopped. I grabbed my oldest daughter and we ran through the market, weaving between stalls, following the sound of raised voices. What I saw when I arrived still makes my blood boil. 6 elderly women, 6 of them, had surrounded my 15-year-old daughter. She was pressed against a produce stand, tears streaming down her face, while these women berated her. And I mean berated. They were calling her unchristian for not wanting to spend time with her paternal grandparents. They were guilt-tripping her about being a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. Can you imagine? These grown women, probably grandmothers themselves, ganging up on a traumatized teenager on her birthday because she wasn't playing happy family with the children born from her father's affair. I pushed through that circle of vultures like a mama bear protecting her cub. Get away from my daughter. Now. I told my oldest to pay for her sister's things and get to the car. Then I turned to face these women, some of whom I recognized from my ex-in-law's church. How dare you corner my child? I said, my voice shaking with rage. How dare you ambush a 15-year-old girl and try to guilt her into accepting a situation that would traumatize anyone? But here's where it gets even better. These women, these so-called Christians, looked me dead in the eye and told me I was the problem. I was the worst one for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. A good Christian wife. To my dead ex-husband's parents. The argument escalated. Voices got louder. People started staring. Eventually, market security asked us all to leave. These women followed me to my car like a pack of wolves, continuing their harassment even as I buckled my traumatized daughters into their seats. That night, after my girls went to bed, I knew I needed answers. I called a friend who attended the same church as my ex-in-laws. What he told me made everything click into place. My ex-mother-in-law had posted this massive, elaborate sob story on the church's Facebook group. She painted herself as the grieving grandmother being cruelly abandoned by her heartless daughter-in-law and ungrateful granddaughters. She claimed we were leaving them homeless and penniless, which was rich considering they'd inherited my ex-husband's personal bank account and life insurance money. But here's the masterstroke of her manipulation. She had to explain away the existence of 2 affair children without admitting her precious son was a cheater. So she told the church that the other woman was our surrogate. She claimed I was unable to have more children, so we'd hired this woman to carry our babies. Then, she said, I rejected the children because they were boys and I only wanted girls. The creativity was almost impressive. Almost. This lie allowed her to maintain her son's saintly reputation while painting me as a heartless monster who abandoned children and left elderly people to suffer. The church ate it up. The more extremist members were practically frothing at the mouth to defend this poor, victimized grandmother. But here's what my dear ex-mother-in-law didn't know. I had evidence. Lots of it. See, I was in the middle of divorcing my ex-husband when he died. I had hired a private investigator. I had photos, text messages, emails, everything. And since the divorce was never finalized, I had no legal restrictions on what I could share. The next day, I took a personal day from work. I drove to the best print shop in town with my treasure trove of evidence. I'm talking high-quality, full-color prints of my ex-husband with his affair partner. Not just holding hands. I'm talking full-on making out in our living room. Their faces were crystal clear. This woman looked nothing like me. Different skin tone, different hair color, different everything. I had printed copies of text conversations between my ex and his affair partner talking about their secret relationship. I had messages between my ex and his parents where they confessed they knew about the affair and were supporting him. I had evidence of my ex-in-laws harassing me about the divorce, trying to convince me to work things out while knowing their son was cheating. But my coup de grace, the crown jewel of my evidence collection, was the messages between my ex-in-laws and my daughters. Messages where they called my girls bastards. Messages where they told my daughters it was their fault their father died because they had told me about the affair and I had started divorce proceedings. This message was sent 2 days after my ex-husband's funeral. 2 days after these girls buried their father. His parents were blaming them for his death. I spent hours that evening creating the most beautiful, personalized binders you've ever seen. I designed them to look exactly like the little prayer and hymn books the church handed out during services. Professional, innocent, holy-looking. But when you opened the cover, the first thing you saw was a high-resolution photo of my ex-husband and his affair partner in a passionate embrace in our living room. Underneath, I'd written their names with a heart, ex-husband's name, black heart, affair partner's name, a love story. The morning of the next Sunday service, I arrived at the church early. There's a table in the back where they keep extra song books for people who forget their own. I placed my beautiful binders right there, mixed in with the regular books. Then I sat back and watched the show. The church service started normally. People grabbed their songbooks, found their seats, started singing hymns. But slowly, gradually, I started hearing gasps, whispers, the sound of pages flipping frantically. One by one, Congregation members were opening their songbooks to find explicit photographic evidence of their saintly deceased member's affair. The photos were so clear, so undeniable, that there was no room for doubt or reinterpretation. By the time the service ended, the church's Facebook group was on fire. People were posting screenshots of the evidence, sharing stories of how they'd been manipulated, expressing outrage at my ex-in-law's treatment of my daughters. The names my ex-husband and his affair partner got called were so bad the pastor himself had to intervene just to keep things relatively PG-13. People were furious about the abuse my daughters had suffered, but what made me laugh was that even in their anger, some still blamed me for the divorce, though they admitted it was understandable that I failed in my duties after the shock and I would possibly one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. 2 apology letters arrived in my mailbox, one for each of my daughters. There was even an invitation for me to join the church for support during this difficult time. But the real victory? My ex-in-laws were so shamed, so humiliated, so completely exposed that they couldn't show their faces at church anymore. They quietly left the congregation they'd attended for decades. My ex-mother-in-law made one final Facebook post on her personal wall about how alienated she felt and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. She wished her great son was still alive because he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money? I wondered. I had been the breadwinner in our family. Sometimes the universe has a funny way of balancing the scales. These people thought they could manipulate, harass, and traumatize my family using their religious community as a weapon. They forgot that the truth has a way of surfacing, and that communities built on moral foundations don't appreciate being lied to. If this story gave you the same satisfaction it gave me, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most beautiful karma you've ever witnessed? Have you ever seen a manipulator get exactly what they deserved? And of course, subscribe for more stories where justice isn't just served, it's served ice cold. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.